So this light fixture is full of ants, and they've been dropping on me and biting me. I've been bit by like 5 or 6 of them so far. Clearly there's a colony behind this fixture, which I got to get out for more than one reason. Anyhow, so here I am up here in ridiculous clothing, trying to get rid of these ants. Hey everybody, welcome. I'm David Schloss. This is Dave Tries This. In this video, I'm going to discuss something that I think is essential for anyone that's serious about their home security cameras. I've been testing Eufy's newest generation of security cameras. I'm going to go over setup, use, and image quality. Eufy sent me some of their newest 3rd generation cameras and their base station to test out. They sent the Eufy Homebase 3, which is also called the S380 Homebase. They sent the new wired doorbell. Then they sent the S340 pan and tilt camera and the E340 wired motion camera light. This video will be a little bit different from most of mine. I'm going to spend some of it outside with the cameras and some of it here at my desk to talk to you about the installation and show you some of the things I thought about the cameras while I was installing those cameras. I have been a long-time user of Eufy's cameras. After some cars in my neighborhood were broken into, I installed 6 of the Eufy Cam 2 cameras around my house. That was the current generation at the time. To run my cameras, I have the Eufy Hub 2, but the new cameras require the Eufy Hub 3, also called the Homebase 3. The good news is that the new hub is backward compatible, so that all of my 2nd generation Eufy cameras will work with the new hub. I'll talk about subject recognition in a bit, but all of the subject recognition is done on the Homebase, which is great because it has a lot more computing power than the individual cameras do. The range on these cameras is pretty amazing. I put the floodlight camera outside more than 100 feet from the base station, and there are 3 walls between the camera and the hub, and the connection is great. So the camera is right there, and then the hub is through this room, and then through the next room, and then through the hallway. And the people who are always cutting down something or mowing the lawn whenever you try to record are right over there. Let's start with the doorbell camera. If you've ever installed a doorbell before, you'll find this a breeze. It's the same process. Even if you haven't installed a wired doorbell, as long as you can handle a Phillips screwdriver, you're really good to go here. There is the doorbell. And it's got the 2 leads for power, and this has power. And then it has a backup battery, which seems to already be installed. The Eufy stuff is nice. They don't use plastic anymore. It's all paper packaging, which is cool. Okay, USB-C cable, jumper wires, which is great because the Ring did not have jumper wires. Install screws. If you don't currently have a wired doorbell, you can use the battery-powered version of the doorbell as well. And the wired version has a backup battery that you can use in case the house power goes off. So the great thing about this, though, is if you install one of the battery-powered doorbells on something like a back door, since it's also a camera, now you have camera access to the back area of your house, even if nobody's ever going to ring the doorbell. Now, I did run into a bit of a challenge with the E340 wired floodlight cameras, but honestly, that had more to do with the wiring in my house than anything on Eufy's end. It also had a lot to do with a whole bunch of really angry ants that turned out were living under the fixture of my old motion light. Sure. My light fixture is full of ants. Why wouldn't it be full of ants? But Eufy's setup guide and installation accessories made this really easier than any other motion sensor camera I've ever had to deal with. In fact, Eufy did something that I've never seen before, which is fantastic. Usually when you're installing something up on a ladder that's wired, the problem is that there's nowhere to put the thing you're installing. So usually you try to do wire caps and screw the wires together, but at the same time you have to hold the thing up that you're trying to install. And that usually ends up in you dropping the thing. But they did a couple of cool things here. The first thing they did is, instead of using wire caps, there's these little connectors and you just simply screw them together. For holding things up while you're doing the wiring, there's this hook, which I've never seen anybody do before, and that's a great idea. Next one up is the SoloCam S340. This has multiple cameras. It tilts and it pans, and it's got this illuminator. Here is the solar panel. Here is the wall mount, and there's a sticker in here in order to show me where to mount it. Before I go up the ladder, I just noticed that there's a sync button on the back, so that probably means that this needs to be synced somewhere close to the base. So I'm going to go inside, plug this into USB with the cable that they give you. Okay, all done. Got the solar panel right here. Let's go into the camera, and here's the rain hood that I made. It took me probably, I don't know, 20 minutes to install this thing. If I had come out with all the right pieces at once, it would have taken me about 15 minutes. So really easy installation. As I said, I've been using the second generation Eufy cameras for years, but the latest third generation models bring more features, better image quality, and, thanks to the new base, improved subject recognition. My older Eufy Cam 2 records in 2K, but it only broadcasts at 1080p with HomeKit. I will get back to HomeKit in a minute. By contrast, the new Eufy Cam 3 records in Ultra 4K, and the S340 wireless outdoor camera captures in 3K, and they both have a telephoto and a wide-angle lens, so you're actually getting 3K from each of those cameras. The E340 floodlight camera is basically the S340 with added motion detecting lights. It also is recording in 3K. The Doorbell camera offers 2K resolution with a secondary lens pointed down to where packages will go. The 2K resolution is more than enough for a doorbell because usually people are very close to the doorbell anyhow. While 2K resolution was fine for my older setup, things could get really pixelated at longer ranges. To cover my long driveway, I use several cameras, one at the end, one in the middle, and one by the garage. The video quality across all of the devices is excellent, with higher resolutions allowing for detailed post-capture zooming. Both the solar paneled camera and the floodlight camera have a 360-degree field of view, kind of. Each of them has a camera that can turn a full 360 degrees. Mount this to a pole for an unobstructed view, and you can pan the camera around a full 360 degrees. But pivoting isn't the same thing as field of view. I'd say both cameras have an actual field of view of about 100 degrees natively. By that I mean if you just turn them on and don't pan them, you can see a little bit more than a 90-100 degree angle. To see 360 degrees, you have to pan. In fact, to see 180 degrees, you still have to pan. So that means that if the camera is pointing forwards and something is happening behind the camera, it's not going to see that. You can set the wired camera to move between zones you program, so that one can work its way through a full 360 degrees. But since it's a floodlight camera, it's probably going to be mounted on a wall, which would limit the rotation to 180 degrees. The motion lights also don't turn, so even if you have a 360 degree field of view, you only have that illumination in the front of the camera. These cameras will also automatically turn to face motion. That allowed me to put one camera up to face the end of my driveway, as it'll see anyone coming onto my property, and then it can pivot automatically to follow them as they come up to my house. The solar light and the floodlight also have infrared sensors, which means they can be set to detect motion behind something like trees or bushes. This allows them to track somebody even when they're out of view. Okay, so there's another important consideration with battery-powered cameras. I'm going to grab a friend of mine to help out. In order to conserve battery power, they only activate when motion is detected. So, this is the camera and this is a person. Since they don't turn on until a motion triggers them, they can miss the first couple of seconds of action. Click, camera goes on, Spock has already come onto my property. I did not see how he got there. Maybe he transported in, maybe he took a shuttle, who knows. Now, this isn't a problem when the cameras detect your mail carrier coming to your door, but if there's someone doing something illegal on your property, you will miss the first few seconds of whatever it was that they were doing. It also means that for battery preservation, it turns off as soon as it can after motion is detected. Why would you keep telling me to upgrade? Thanks to being connected to AC power, the wired floodlight camera is always recording. There's an internal slot for a micro SD card, but instead of using that, I have the cameras recording footage on the Homebase 3. One of the big updates from the Homebase 2 is that there's a 2.5-inch drive slot built into the Homebase 3. That slot is used for recording from any or all of your cameras. I bought and stuck in a cheap 1TB SSD, and it can record a lot of footage. The slot will accommodate up to a 16TB drive, which is a lot of video of the driveway or a front door. The AI-based tracking is another big plus. Eufy system now does a better job of recognizing faces, vehicles, and even pets. You can also fine-tune what triggers the camera, so if you only want alerts when the mailman shows up and not every time your dog runs across the yard, you could do that. If you don't want to know when vehicles come into your driveway, you can do that too. Okay, so let's talk about something that might be a deal breaker for some Apple users, the HomeKit support, which is more to say there is no HomeKit support. The current system does not work with HomeKit or HomeKit Secure Video. The previous generation cameras did work with HomeKit Secure Video, but they did not work very well. In fact, they work so poorly, I just simply turned it off and I use them with the Eufy app. As a die-hard HomeKit user, it's a bit of a bummer to me to not have HomeKit support, but honestly, Eufy's app is so robust, I don't really miss it much. When it comes to pricing, Eufy's system is really competitive. Most of the cameras are under $200, and they offer some great bundles that can save you even more. For instance, the wired doorbell plus the Homebase is $179.88, which is a weird number. That's about $100 less than buying those things separately. Links to those will be in the description below. There's also no subscription, and while I have a HomeKit camera on my back door, for the front door I had an older Ring camera. The Ring camera makes me pay every month for the device. Eufy does not, and so the entire Eufy system is completely free. There is a subscription to cloud features for the Eufy cameras, but they're basically for online storage. Personally, I think it's cheaper to put a hard drive inside the unit and forget about the cloud storage entirely. Okay, so what's the final verdict? Eufy Security Camera System is durable, it's easy to install, and is packed with features that make it one of the best options out there. The lack of a subscription fee is a huge plus to me, and the image quality is top-notch. The only real downside is that lack of HomeKit support and the slight delay in recording with battery-powered cameras. But overall, if you're looking for a reliable, feature-packed home security system, this one is really hard to beat. Links to those Eufy cameras are in the description below. They're affiliate links, so if you buy from them, it really helps out the channel. And if you found this review helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more honest, real-world tech reviews. If you have any questions about Eufy Security System or anything else tech-related, drop a comment below and I will do my best to answer. For Dave Tries This, I'm David Schloss, and as always, thanks so much for giving this a try.